Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving straight into a fascinating legal mystery by putting a specific court's logic under the harsh microscope of both science and philosophy. We're going to explore a really important question. How exactly does the justice system connect an action on the internet to physical consequences in the real world? And maybe more importantly, what happens when that connection doesn't actually exist? We're looking at the real-world case of Dr. Chen Jingyuan, and we're asking if a single digital drop of water can genuinely be blamed for massive ocean current. It's a profound question that affects literally anyone who uses social media. Think about it. In a sea of billions of users, can your single, almost entirely unseen retweet really be the root cause of society-wide disruption? So here's our roadmap for the investigation today. We'll quickly hit the core legal conflict, test it using philosophical causation, ground it in network science reality, and then look at the ultimate causal logic collapse. All right, part one, the core legal conflict. Let's establish the facts. The sequence of events here is surprisingly brief. Step one, the defendant, Dr. Chen, used a VPN to forward some specific political content on an overseas platform. Step two, the prosecution deemed this content illegal and offensive. And step three, the court concluded that this specific action of retweeting caused, and I'll quote here, severe public order disruption. So, to recap, the guy forwarded content to a tiny audience, the prosecution didn't like it, and the court decided this exact action caused severe offline chaos. But wait a second. Notice the glaring gap in the sequence? How exactly did an isolated digital action leap into the physical world? In any normal criminal case, if action A causes outcome B, the court absolutely has to prove the chain of events connecting them. But in this case, that transmission chain is completely missing from the record. Which brings us to part two, the philosophical causation test. Let's really test this claim. To do this, we're bringing in 18th century philosopher David Hume. He argued that for causation to be real, you need an observable rule that two things always happen together. He called this constant conjunction. Think of it like billiard balls. We know one ball causes the other to move because we literally see it happen consistently every single time. It's a verified physical rule. So applying Hume's theory, we have to ask ourselves, is there an empirical rule that a single ignored retweet equals social chaos? Does an everyday user hitting share consistently spark public riots? Well, the answer obviously is no. Millions of highly controversial things are shared every single day without the world ending. So under Hume's strict rules, we have no constant conjunction, which means no causation. Next up, we have philosopher David Lewis with the counterfactual theory. Fun fact, this is actually the exact foundation of modern randomized scientific trials. The theory just asks a simple what-if question. Event A is the cause of event B, if and only if, in a world where event A never happened, event B wouldn't have happened either. And this just brilliantly dismantles the case. In our actual world, Dr. Chen retweeted the posts, and society carried on without any documented physical chaos. Now, imagine our counterfactual world. If Dr. Chen simply put his phone in his pocket and never hit retweet, the world would look exactly the same. Public order wouldn't be any different at all. His action simply wasn't a necessary cause for anything. Moving on to part three, the network science reality. Let's look at the hard data in mathematics. Philosophy gives us the underlying logic, sure, but network science gives us the hard numbers. Let's look at the actual metrics of the defendant's account. He had fewer than 100 followers, many of which were probably inactive anyway, and his posts generated practically zero engagement. We're talking no likes, no comments, no further shares. Crickets. We can actually map this using what's called the Galton-Watson branching process. It's a mathematical model used to study how things spread, from information to viruses. In this model, an edge node with no engagement has a transmission rate, or mu, below 1. What does that mean in plain English? It means the information spread is mathematically guaranteed to extinguish itself in the very first generation. It's a total dead end. If we look at the actual topology of social media, it's what scientists call a scale-free network. In these networks, you have massive hub nodes. Think your mega influencers with millions of followers, and they drive basically all the system-wide trends. Meanwhile, edge nodes, like our defendant's tiny account, are structurally isolated. Their mathematical impact on the network as a whole is, for all intents and purposes, zero. Because of this math, scientists always warn against the micro-macro fallacy. That's the critical error of confusing the general background noise of a massive system with the influence of one single isolated user. Blaming an edge node for a macro-level phase change is honestly like blaming a single dropped match for a massive fire in a desert where there is absolutely no fuel. The physics literally just laugh at you.
Finally, Part 4, the causal logic collapse. Let's analyze the verdict.
So if both rigorous philosophy and hard network science completely reject this causation, how in the world did the court actually reach its verdict? Well, when we dive into the source material, analyzing the legal documents, we find a stunning absence of evidence. The court failed to prove any transmission chain. There was no scale data, no physical offline incidents were reported, and there was absolutely zero proof that Dr. Chen's posts, out of the billions on the internet, were the unique trigger. So the crucial takeaway here is that the court used what the source texts refer to as presumed causation. Instead of proving that the retweet caused chaos, the court just assumed that because the content was deemed dangerous or offensive, the harm automatically materialized. They essentially substituted their own reaction to the content for actual physical evidence of societal harm. And the source analysis notes this really fascinating linguistic sleight of hand in the legal documents. The verdict essentially states that the user forwarded the content, causing chaos. It entirely skips over the causal proof. That one little comma is doing the heavy lifting of entirely replacing the word because and completely bypassing all the empirical evidence that the word because legally requires. Ultimately, the source material points out that the judicial system committed a massive category error. They treated their own internal institutional reaction to the posts, the investigation, the arrest, the trial itself, as if that was the external physical disruption caused by the user. The chaos was quite literally just the system's own reaction to finding the post, not a real-world breakdown of public order caused by the post itself. As we wrap up, I'll leave you with this thought. We've all heard about the butterfly effect, right? Where a butterfly flapping its wings supposedly causes a storm on the other side of the world. But in a court of law, you actually have to prove the physics of that wind traveling across the globe. When courts abandon empirical proof for abstract assumptions, when they punish the butterfly for a storm that might not have even happened, what happens to the objective truth of cause and effect? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the logic, and I'll see you next time.